So at this time, Mr. Chairman, we will call the Ward 3 Neighborhood Advisory Board meeting of January 5th to order.
Okay, staff, can we do roll call
Yes. Roll call, Arbutman,
here?
Gutierrez.
Here.
Gutierrez Rodriguez.
Here.
Hildebrand.
Here.
Thank you, Maya.
Here.
Simeo is absent at this time. Smith.
Here.
Thank you. Woodard.
Here.
Thank you. Councilmember Martinez
Here.
is also present, and as mentioned, Ashley Turney, Chief Innovation Officer for the City of Reno. Additionally, we do have Abby with us as well as staff, and Jana, thank you for being present. So, Mr. Chair, you do have the quorum of the Ward 3 Neighborhood Advisory Board.
Cool. All right, welcome everyone. We'll move into item 8.2 for public comment. So we are doing a hybrid meeting. This item is either for public comment or any action item on any action item on the agenda, or for general public comment, and is limited to no more than 3 minutes. If you are in the Zoom meeting and you wish to make public comment, you can raise your hand and we'll call on you there. And looks like we have maybe 1 or 2 people in here, but I'm not sure if anyone here will be making comment, but we'll leave it open for a minute. If we have 1 attendee, go ahead and raise your hand. Otherwise, we'll move on.
Mr. Chair, just to note for the record, you have no public comment lodged with us present at this time. Attendees, again, just final call for opening public comment. If you'd like to get a comment, please raise your hand. Seeing none, Mr. Chair, returning it back to you for your next item.
Okay, we'll move on to item 8.3, approval of today's agenda for January 5th, 2023. Do I have a motion to approve?
Yeah, this is Ryan Smith for the record. I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
And do we have a second?
This is Alexander Woodard. I second the motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. The agenda is approved. Next item, we do have the minutes from the October 4th meeting, which are attached to the end of this agenda. And we have that here in person. And I think on the one on the way to, that was a longer meeting, but all the notes are in there. So I don't know if anyone's had a chance to look over, but do we have a motion to approve those?
This is Alexander Woodard. I support the motion to approve the agenda minutes.
Do we have a second?
This is for the record. Second.
All in favor of approving the minutes for October 4th, 2022?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. And we're very lucky to have our council member here with us in intimate quarters here. So we'll move on to the council liaison report. Welcome, Council Member Martinez.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to be here with you all today and meet some of you all for the first time. Thank you for having me at this meeting. I think for those that may not know me, I just wanted to share a little bit about where I come from and kind of the perspective that I bring to City Council, and hopefully as your liaison in this role. I was born and raised here in Reno, Nevada, so this is home to me. My parents are from Mexico, so I get the opportunity to go there every couple of years, which I'm fortunate enough to do. English is my second language, and I went through the full K through 16 public system here in Northern Nevada. So I'm really proud graduate of Washoe County School District, Truckee Meadows Community College, and the University of Nevada, Reno. I've worked for the past 7 years roughly at Truckee Meadows Community College, coordinating 2 mentorship programs to help students get ready for that transition after high school or from TMCC transitioning to the university. So I do a lot with developing youth, developing those life skills for students to get ready for that transition. My approach as a leader would be an inclusive one. I try to provide people space with opportunity to voice their concerns and try to be accessible to hear those concerns and hopefully and bring that with me during council meetings. So if you all have anything of concern, I would be happy to have a conversation about that and move forward with it. In terms of a vision for our ward, I think something that's important from what I hear is the access to our parks and rec, and then having good sidewalks really is what I'm hearing. Is a lot of neighborhoods and need that infrastructure brought up to today or contemporary times, so hopefully I can move the needle a little bit in that aspect. But if there are other things that you all see, I'd be happy to try to help assist in moving those. As I mentioned during the appointment process, which some of you were a part of, and I appreciate that. I do only have my perspective, obviously, the lived experience that I have living here, and so I hope to gather your voices as I represent you all during the council meetings. That's all I would say for my report, unless anybody has any questions. Which, if there's the floor to do that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Yeah, any questions for Councilmember Martinez? What's been your favorite part so far of being council member?
Great question. I think the opportunity to visit our fire stations a little bit more. And being able to do some ride-alongs. I'll do a ride-along with RPD soon, sir. We'll get that scheduled out.
He looks thrilled. Welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, so being able to like visit the resources that we're able to offer the community and being able to answer some of those questions for constituents about like, what is a resource if our lights do go out, and being able to have that information I think has been fun for me, I would say. Yeah.
I'm kind of curious about that. Yes, Manny mentioned earlier having some power outages. So
Yeah.
has that been challenging this past couple of weeks of dealing with things like that?
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of that conversation happening. Maybe Ashley can shed some more light on the Reno Direct numbers that have happened and that have come through, but I know MV Energy has been pretty diligent about providing us what they're doing and what they've been working on, how they're preparing for this next storm. I know they're bringing in staff from the south and from other states just to be ready in case this storm that's coming next hits us the same way that this last one did. So, yeah, I don't know if you all have any more information that you can provide on the outages.
If you want to transition to staff liaison update, I'm happy to fill that in there just so that we stay within the confines of your agenda.
Jennifer, do you have any questions? Okay. Yeah, let's, thank you very much. Yeah, we can, move on to the staff liaison report. And then, maybe address some of the forums concerns and Reno Direct stuff too. Thanks, guys.
Absolutely. As mentioned, Ashley Turney, Chief Innovation and Experience Officer for the City of Reno in the City Manager's Office. First update that I did want to give is we do have new staff associated with these community liaison positions. As you have all communicated, Abigail, looks like Abby Mayorga will be Councilman Martinez's liaison and will be helping to support a lot of his constituent functions, forward facing and otherwise. Additionally, I did just want to note, as we do have a team of people that are helping to support the councilman at all times, we also have Jenna Moyer over here as well, and she will be helping support special projects as well as all 7 council members. They have their plates full and they're learning quickly. We're very excited to have them as part of the team. So there will be times when you'll be communicating with both of them, but rest assured you have a team that's helping support the councilman in his endeavors to ensure that he is connecting with his constituents in the most effective way possible. As question had come about as far as Reno Direct numbers, one of the departments that I do oversee in innovation and experience is Reno Direct, which is our City of Reno 311 center, call center. We receive hundreds of phone calls and requests for plowing for snow issues. One thing to note that I thought the City of Reno team did an amazing job with is we were preparing for a flood emergency and then quickly had to pivot for preparing for a snow emergency. And people who are not in the government realm may not understand that's a really monumental task. The way that we manage those emergency situations are very, very different from the staff that actually do things compared to the preparedness. So for what we were hit with is we were expecting very warm storm, and we all know that that's not what actually happened. Just to speak to a lot of power outages, as noted, that is an NV Energy component that the City of Reno unfortunately has no sway in one way or the other. But we were very concerned. So as a regional effort, we opened up warming centers at the RSCVA Convention Center, as well as worked with the local properties to identify a discount code for people to be able to stay at either the Row or the Pepper Mill, making sure that we had multiple options for folks. So what we are doing, as Councilman Martinez identified, NV Energy is bringing in additional staffing for preparing for this next storm. It is expected to be a warmer storm. However, we do know that there will be some high winds, a lot of rain. We are concerned about flooding this go round because it is a warm storm that will be melting a lot of this snow. So as always, if you have concerns for downed trees, plowing needs, other issues, water in the right way, anything of that nature, we always encourage everyone to go to either call Reno Direct or 34 info. For faster, more direct routing though, we do recommend that you go online. So if you submit on reno.gov, it's on the main page, we'll be able to get you in the queue a little bit faster. You don't have to wait for a person to come in and take that call. So hopefully that answers a little bit of an update there. As far as other staff updates for the councilman, we are having conversations about locations of future Ward 3 NAB meetings. So that's something I'm sure he would value your input from this board to identify where is the best location for you within your board. So we'll be sending out some information on that in the coming weeks for your future months. So did I miss any updates? How are the cookies?
Really good.
Good.
They're from the local Ward 3 bakery, so that's something that's very important to the councilman is that we were supporting a local business in Fort. So
So do you guys know?
yeah, if you've got other ones for future events, please take cookies on.
I have a question. Are there any guidelines for places that the meeting could happen in? This is Ward Member Arborman, NAB Member Arborman, for the record.
Actually, attorney, for the record, the confines really just have to do with space availability as far as the tech as well. We like to run hybrid meetings to ensure that we're having the best access for the community. We do have to be in a place that has technology available for us. So there are other locations that, for example, Paradise Activity Center does not have current technology to allow for it. We have some options that we can piece together, but it is not an ideal setting and we don't feel as accessible. So we obviously try to use City of Reno facilities because we don't have a cost for those. If we go to an outside private party, there will be a cost incurred and we will need to find that as there's nothing budgeted for that.
That's
Part of why
it.
we used to be in Ward, City Hall was in Ward 3 until redistricting, so that's part of why your meeting was always held there. That is now Ward 5, but there is no requirement. You can be in any ward where the councilman would like to get these meetings.
This is NAB member Alex Woodard. How is this location? Is this a good location for you guys for running this?
We will accommodate what the councilman and the board would like to have happen. Admittedly, there are some additional confines for staff to bring in the equipment into this space is larger to do because the tech isn't available in this room.
Okay,
But if this is for the good of the order and what the body requests along with the councilman, then we will accommodate as is necessary.
Thank you though.
Thanks for checking on us. We're here to serve. Yes.
I guess NAB Member Arborman with one more question about that. Is there, or could you send out a list of places that are good and then we could maybe, rotate or something like that?
or at least have a selection.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's absolutely something we can look at city facilities that are available. We also take into consideration, this one was moved due to the holiday. We also look at when your reoccurrence, I believe the first Tuesday of the month is generally what we have right now. And so we do our best to make sure that you're in a location that doesn't have other activities going at that same time.
Okay, any other questions for staff?
No.
Okay, so yeah, we have one business item today, the RPD quarterly report. And so I'll turn it over to Lieutenant Peterson here.
Hi, Matt Peterson. I'm a lieutenant with the Reno Police Department. I found out I was doing this meeting a very short time before the meeting. So I am usually much more prepared and I can back that up with different NAB meetings that I have attended and prepared for. So I appreciate your consideration in that context. First and foremost, one of the things we've been dealing with, because it correlates into what you've just been discussing, is failure of the radio system due to power outages. All public safety radios operate off of antennas off of the various mountain peaks. I believe there's some down on the major buildings downtown, but specifically like Peavine. Peavine went down the other day because of a power outage. If they can't get to fix the power outage, we don't have communication off of that peak. So that might slice a piece of Reno off of the radio ability. So for me, trying to manage a shift, it's not safe for one police officer to go into the dark and unknown and try and figure out what to do with something. So I will double them up so they at least have a partner with them to go out into the dark and unknown and figure out what to do. As a result, that impacts staffing, as you can imagine, significantly. Or we have secondary ways kind of to patch together and around it, but it's still not a good system. I mean, the radios, when they function perfectly, aren't perfect. So when that happens, so that's a consideration that we've been hit with. We thought we had it fixed, and then we found out that their the generators hold gas for 24 hours. So they got them fueled up, and then lo and behold, they stopped working again about 24 hours later. So always a consideration. The second thing I would bring up that is not so much right now, thankfully, but has been recently, specifically looking at the map for this ward, is sideshows. I unfortunately, due to my position on the department, I've ended up with probably 95% of the sideshows because they happen on Friday, Saturday nights when I'm working. There's a big difference between what we've had previously in Northern Nevada with street racing, more so the local kids and probably into the teenagers up into the mid-20s for the most part. Some influx during hot August nights when people are feeling their youth. But the reality is the sideshows themselves are a whole different animal, and people get confused just because they're the similar type of cars. Their behaviors are totally different, doing different things. Street racers are unlawful, racing down a public street, of course. Sideshows take over the entire intersection, drive in a very illegal and dangerous manner. They'll have people hanging out of the cars, people approaching the cars, slapping the cars for whatever reason, and then large groups blocking off that intersection. And then in addition to that, whatever that culture brings with quite a bit of firearms, they like to launch fireworks, commercial grade fireworks at the police. So basically a low end mortar attack, if you will. And then bulletproof, bullet resistant armor and stuff like that. I've seen it all. Yes, in Little Reno. So everything is a correlation of migration from bigger cities, most likely from the west of us that come east to come see what's going on here. I've recently had been in trying to deal with that. I've recently attended the very first training I knew of its kind with I can't remember the Bay Area organization, but a law enforcement agency where they've had some success with the tactics they've used. It's a very hard thing to deal with. I have a staff of I don't know, about 20 officers tonight. If a sideshow occurs, I need every one of them. Well, I can't just stop looking at the rest of the city while a sideshow occurs. We still have, burglaries and people fighting and, child abuse and all these different things. I can't just stop doing that. Conversely, I can't send 2 police officers to deal with a crowd of 300 people, 400 people acting in that manner. So it's very much a give and take and juggle trying to figure out how to deal with this. We have, because it's a new thing for us, we have fumbled through different things trying to do as far as holding the shift over. You can imagine that's not a very popular topic in the department when you're ready to go home or when you're ready to be on your weekend, but it is what it is. In addition, we've called in shifts early so that the one shift on duty, swing shift, can go and act as the mobile field force to deal with that problem. There's all kinds of different things, and we haven't found the magic key yet, but we're getting closer to it. A secondary point I'd like to bring across that, because people get very frustrated with a response or their perceived lack of response. If I push too hard, I create a riot. We don't want that. I'd much prefer to deal with street signs that are broken, some ripped up tires, a little bit of grass that's messed up versus a full-blown riot where people are getting their property destroyed, their businesses vandalized, putting people in danger. I have to weigh that. And I don't have my crystal ball. They didn't issue me one, so I have to kind of guess where I think we're going with it. Ultimately, if the behavior is bad enough, I have to do something. Example of that, Fifth in Virginia, this past summer. There was no way we're going to let that continue. We addressed it and thankfully it worked. I just had the very next night, it was much bigger down here, close to your ward at Lakeside and McCarran. Thankfully, they dispersed. Those were two small ones that made the news. There's bigger ones that have occurred that just didn't pop up on the news. Looking at the map, one of the things that really sticks out to me is in I think it's Ward 4, for whatever reason, you end up in the warehouse districts up instead. Not nearly as much, though, you end up with the sideshow behaviors, specifically in the Target complex down south. Also in the area basically by the new DMV. There's tons of warehouses over there. There's one cul-de-sac, a gigantic cul-de-sac with multiple warehouses that for whatever reason, that's one of the places they like. I like that. I'll let them be there and contained over having them risk the rest of the city and risk people's safety. We had case in point, kids that thought the police were coming for them. We weren't, but they thought we were, and they rolled a Bronco or a SUV right in that intersection, right by the DMV. I forgot where I was going, my train of thought. Sorry, I'm old. I've been doing this a long time. But anyways, sideshows are a huge problem for us. We very much want to address it in the right way so that we don't push it over the edge and create more of a problem. It's one of those things where you go, what do we do now? So it's very definitely evolving. Back to the statistics that you got for Ward 3. Like I said, I didn't have a whole lot of prep time, so I don't have a lot of specifics. However, obviously, just looking off of it, the big thing I would like to point out is the fact that you got your, where was it? Which one was it? Crimes against person, 63 versus 50 in the past year, so a 26% increase. Being the police, I do care about all the laws, but I care specifically about crimes against person. When I give my speech to my police officers or my sergeants, I tell them, you will take care of children first, and then you will take care of the rest of the people and the victims, because kids can't take care of themselves. So that's very important to us. And unfortunately, children are very commonly the victim in a crime. But this crimes against person, like I said, I don't have the specifics on it, but that's notable to think that it came up 26% in that time period. There are a lot of positive numbers, if you look on the backside of that, for the property crimes and stuff like that. I don't know why specifically it hits that way, but it did. Lock your stuff up and don't become a victim, I guess is the best way I can describe on that one. Do you guys have any nagging questions from the last meeting? I wasn't here at that last meeting. That would have been Lieutenant Dye, a little bit more intense fellow than me, but that's what happens when you're on the SWAT team that long. You guys remember any of those?
Yeah, NAB member Arbitman, for the record. I don't really remember having specific questions, but I think over the past year or so, we've definitely we've had different people from RPD presenting. I think we've kind of asked in general about what other types of information and reports we could get, because I think sometimes these reports, even though
This is a snapshot.
yeah, it's not super helpful for contextualizing stuff. I know we've asked before, and I think the answers we've gotten have been kind of a little bit vague, because I think sometimes the data is not maybe what you're dealing with necessarily. So if there's any illumination you can give on that, I mean, we've asked about, budgetary things or staffing things, maybe how those correlate to these numbers as well, or anything like that. Yeah.
Okay, well, staffing, that's an easy one. Okay, you give me more police, I'll cut down on some of the crime on that list. I don't mean to be flip with it. The reality is I don't have enough police officers to go to the crimes we have now. Right now, if you walk out to my car, there's a computer screen and it lists by priority 1, 2, 3, and 5. 5 is a phone call or something that we can fiddle with and associate that one right there. A 3 is I like the police. This is an event that I think the police should know about, but the reality is we're probably not going to get to it for several hours because of my staffing. Priority 1, of course, is going to be a crime of violence right now, or suicide or something like that. Obviously, I have to redirect my officers to go to that first because it's significant and it's happening right now. 2s are going to be your, obviously right in the middle there. But to answer the question, the staffing is always going to impact that. Right now, we are doing everything we can, functioning at a deficit of officers in order to try and police this gigantic city. I could take the staffing that I have now and successfully police your ward, but that would leave the other 4 wards. We constantly are trying to decide which things we put on the back burner in order to address these more important things now. I'll tell you right now, Sideshow took over my entire shift this summer. Between that and 2 different large protest type of issues, that's what I did for the entire summer, much less crime that never stopped. We now have, I've been very lucky from my point of things in the patrol division, meaning uniformed police officers. We've kept our numbers up there, but it's at a deficit to the rest of the department. There are detective slots that are unfilled. There are, the downtown bike team, the different regional entities all have a slot open or more because they chose to keep a police officer in a blue suit in order to respond to those emergency calls that we're talking about. When I started, it was very common to get your lunch break each night. Every people love to find you when you're on your lunch break and question why aren't you go doing something. But I get a lunch break theoretically just like everybody else that has a job. When I started, you could get that lunch break, you could take care of business, and occasionally you'd get secured because it was a busy night and something happened. I never hear police officers taking their lunch break now. They will sit in their car and eat their lunch. They'll go into the substation next door and heat something up in a microwave. The old fat guy, he manages to make it to lunch more than them, but you better believe I'm looking at my computer screen, my phone, and my radio all at the same time while I'm trying to eat something. So the reality is this is staffing it's just horrible. It's not like they're not trying to fix it. And it's not like they're not trying to do something about it. They absolutely are. Recruiting and law enforcement is a huge issue all across this country right now. The best solution anybody's come up with, and it's not a good solution for the second entity, is stealing other police officers. They go from this agency to go work for this agency. Thankfully, we don't have that too much. We do have a little bit of it. I think we probably bring more to us, but the numbers are small. Recruiting classes are almost non-existent in comparison to what I were when I was going through in the 90s. So staffing is a huge one. You had another question. I'm sorry, I get around about.
Well, yeah, I was just saying in general, like for, I think, for residents of the ward and stuff, information about that, I think would be helpful. I mean, that's kind of, data. I mean, more so than necessarily kind of an individual officer's take, be interesting to see.
Data was a good point from my memory. Just so you know, this information here that's tallied, this is an intern. This is not a police employee that, we don't have enough police employees to do that topic. So great kid, he knows his stuff. This is really good. I've actually haven't changed some of the things because somebody in the past had removed a lot of this. And I'm like, I don't know where this is. I know that it's Reno because it says it is. Otherwise, I didn't even know where it was. It's hard for me. In my world, I do by beats. So this doesn't make any sense to me because Ward 3 starts in the North District and goes all the way to the extreme South District for the police version of it. But at the city council version of it, it's just basically the east side of Reno, if you will. He's able to sort through all that. But that data, any data is going to come from him. I just don't have the resources to put that data together. I can answer. That's like I talked with him when we were talking about coming to the meeting today. Usually I like to prepare by going over the different things and seeing if there's specific cases that I can go, oh, I can attribute this spike right here to, a guy that went on a rampage and he did 4 or 5 different burglaries or something like that. Those usually pop up pretty easy. You said data and you said something else.
Yeah, not sure what else, but as you were talking, I was also thinking, and this is maybe for later, but it would be interesting too to hear from, some of the bike officers, that's something that have.
I think it would be a great idea for you guys to have different perspectives. I sit in my office a lot trying to sort out the department's woes on my shift, but I'm not the police anymore. I supervise police at this point in my life. So yeah, you have the resources of the gang unit available. You have the resources of the downtown bike team, which doesn't look like it really touches on this ward, but if you have interest, they can come and speak to us what they're trying to do. But I mean, the reality is, I mean, right here at Neil Road Park, I was in the gang unit for 8 years. So that would be a great resource to give information to people so that they understand it's not this occupying force that's there to arrest everybody's kids and take them away. It's to prevent gang violence, and they have a ton of diversion efforts in the gang unit to keep kids out of gangs.
I know we've talked about that
Great.
before too.
Yeah, that's
so
great.
That would be,
Excuse me, during my time period in there, we actually started assigning a Reno police officer to the schools versus school police officer to the gang unit, because that's where you start with trying to keep them from being in the gang. So see the Glenn Duncan there. Behind middle. There's something else. Oh, what she talked about earlier with the Reno Direct, there's this funny thing. Whoever invented 911 had no idea how overreaching it's going to be. And what I mean by that is when 911 first came out, people barely used it. Oh, it's only for emergencies with the police. Well, now people call 911 to ask you the time. It wastes the dispatcher's time. It wastes the officer's time. It wastes all kinds of time. Citizens who actually do need the police for that event waste their time. So if you can educate your ward members, that would be a great help to us. Reno Direct is great. 9 times out of 10, probably 99 times out of 100. If it is an event that has nothing to do with the police, but we ended up with the call, we're going to direct them to Reno Direct anyways. And I mean, get me out. I'm the middleman, you know, I want them to get their answer quickly. I use Reno Direct as a police officer because there's certain things that come up. I'm like, I don't know. So I call Reno Direct and that vehicle got towed or this thing got addressed, because they actually are the clearinghouse for all that information. It's a really good system. I can't take any credit for it, or I would.
Ward member Alexander Woodard?
Yeah.
Is there any chance that we could get, what do you think is the unit that's most relevant for our ward? The specialty unit?
Without a doubt, I would say the regional gang unit.
Okay. Is there any chance we could get them to come give us a conversation between quarterly meetings?
Oh,
So in the
like on
next
your next
couple
meeting?
months? Yeah.
I would think so. I don't have any control over them. I don't
Okay.
oversee them at all. They have their own lieutenant. I'll put in the request. Which meeting would you like them to attempt to attend? If that's the case.
I'll address the rest of the board. Do we have any specific? We just say the next one?
whenever they can, yeah.
Mr.
Yeah.
Chair, if I can just interject just to maybe help gap some staffing components. If I understand the direction is we can send that back with the lieutenant and then he can check in with command staff based off of bandwidth requirements. And then we'll also look at your upcoming agendas. As if you've got heavier ones coming with development projects, we want to be cognizant of that timing for this body, as well as the lieutenants and their staffing constraints right now.
Okay, that would work
If you're
perfectly.
good with that, we'll connect and then figure out the best time for that to come forward. And maybe that should just take place at the next quarterly update, could be an alternative option as well.
Okay,
Great, thank you. I'll take notes on that.
thank you, sir.
Ask the boss.
Yeah. No kidding.
I feel like we've asked for that though. For gang.
Well, I'm due when I got.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
I promise, I'm just trying to give you the best information I got. I don't know what information you want until you ask, and invariably, that's the one that I don't have.
Jennifer, oh, sorry, go ahead, Cameron.
Ward 3 NAB member Gabriel Maya for the record. I just wanted to know, overall, let's say, working with the gang units is to work, towards kids not getting involved into gangs and all that kind of stuff. Is there anything that not specifically RPD, but anything that PDs in general are doing to recruit from the beginning, from like, doing some outreach in the high school so people, also kids can have like the idea to eventually become more involved and become officers later on in life, or?
Absolutely, we currently have that. So it used to be called Explorers. Explorers were affiliated with Boy Scouts of America. They decided, I'm not a part privy to that, but something they didn't like, so they blocked off from that. They went from Explorers to Cadets, our own personal entity. Sparks PD, Washoe County, they have their own different things. So ours were called cadets. We are now working on a previous program that we used to have. This is actually prior to me, so prior to 97, was a cadet program for actual employees. They get hired to be police officers, but they weren't police officers yet, so they made them cadets. So it's just vernacular because we're changing the names. Currently, they were explorers, police explorers. The I don't know what the ages were, probably about 13, 14 to 18. Now they're called, at the moment, they're called cadets. However, they are going to be changing their name, not getting rid of the program, just simply changing the name just because that's actually a city civil service position. It just hadn't been used so that we can hire new employees and that we call cadets. So yes, that system exists, just making the clarification that it's going to change the name is all. But yeah, they absolutely do that. They meet once a week. I want to say Thursdays, it might be Tuesdays, I can't remember. They have an advisor who ironically works the South team, so he's in your NAB. They do all kinds of events to fundraise for their specific things. There is no cost for them. The fundraising is what finances their events. I know in the past, I know one event they went to Disneyland, but they do other things too. They do the charity golf tournament stuff, and they help a lot with some of the stuff downtown with the summer events going on, hot dogs nights, all that stuff. What else? Anyways, they get to do training applicable to their age group. But they get to actually do some of the more fun police type related tasks in encouragement and hopefully recruiting them to do that. The current canine sergeant is a former, for him, explorer, but same concept. We've had several that have come through and gone successful. Something to tell you on that too. Oh, the cadets. So that's another thing I talked about. We have a recruiting problem nationally, trying to get people that want to be police officers or identifying those people. One of the things that we've had at our department historically is we were very much ingrained in a system where, okay, we're going to test. Okay, we got a list. Okay, these are the people that are on our list. Okay, we're having an academy in January. And they're like, well, it's July and I need a job. And they're like, okay, well, we'll see you in January. And out of those 10 people that would have been the best candidates, 2 of them show up because the other ones went and got a job, most likely at Washoe County, because they're like, we'll hire you today. So they've brought back, they're bringing out of the ashes, the whole program where they call them cadet. They're getting paid. It's an actual job. They're getting paid. They show up 40-hour work week and do police related tasks for the purposes of keeping them employed until we can send them to the police academy. They're not police officers. They don't wear a police uniform, but they are basically giving them a crawling start to the run that they start later. If that makes sense.
Okay.
That's great.
2 different things. That one's a very new and new process, but nobody came up with anything. We're just reinventing the wheel over. We just try and use the things that worked before.
Yep.
So
If it works, if it's not broken, then.
don't fix it. Oh, you haven't worked in city government, my friend. We'll break everything. Yeah.
For no reason.
Yeah, absolutely.
I appreciate your answer.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it.
Jennifer, any questions or I'm not sure if Jennifer's for.
No, I'm good. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Lieutenant.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think that's,
Oh, I don't like watching my weight.
that's it for our business items today. Any announcements from board members for any school events or anything like that you guys want to let the board know about?
Yeah, this is Ryan Smith for the record. I have good news to share. Last Thursday before winter break at Glen Duncan Elementary School, we had an event called Winter Wonderland, and Ashley's Toy Closet came over with this giant, like half semi truck, unloaded about thousands of toys into our cafeteria. And Santa Claus showed up with the Grinch, and we went classroom by classroom, walked the kids. Santa went into each classroom, walked the kids down to the cafeteria, and the kids, every single student at the school got to choose 2 toys. And then Nevada Kids Foundation was there and gave them shampoo and toothpaste and socks and a bunch of supplies to take home with them. And it was a great event. That was a big win, I thought, for
That's
for our community. So I wanted to share that at the meeting.
That's wonderful.
That's good.
Thanks, Ryan.
So top of that one.
You're
That was
give me a-
I'll say
Get my
my
cream next.
Okay, with no announcements, are there any?
I
future-
do,
Oh,
I'm sorry,
yeah,
it just came to mind, sorry.
yeah.
Marcela Gutierrez Rodriguez for the record. As some of you know, I work for the Justin Hood Foundation. We work with kids and individuals with disabilities. So we are piloting a job training program for young adults with disabilities. So if anybody knows of an employer who might be interested in hiring people with disabilities, please let me know. We do all the training. We train employers, we train managers, supervisors, the individual. So that way it's a seamless transition. And then we have all the supports so the individual is really successful in the role. Our goal is to create competitive employment for these individuals and have it be as inclusive as possible so they can work just like their typical peer. So if anybody knows of an employer who might be interested, or you think, yeah, just a might, please send me their contact information and I will do I will reach out to them and just let them know who we are and what we do. And hopefully we can gain community interest.
So yeah.
If I may, Miguel Martinez for the record. I'm working with city staff and city clerk's office to kind of revitalize youth city council. So if any of you know residents that are 14 to 22 that may want to get experience being on a city government board, we're trying to get that up and running again. So as similar to being the council liaison here, I'm the council liaison for that group. So we're going to push students to get involved or any members to be involved. There is 9 vacant seats at the moment, but basically all the seats are vacant. And so we need to fill those up and get people involved. So if any of you know anybody 14, 22-year-old that would like to do that, just keep an eye on, I'll send out the information, how to apply and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then member Berman for the record, what's the, like, what does that look like? What's the commitment? Is it like a monthly meeting that they do, or how does that work?
Yeah, they meet once a month, as well as Miguel Martinez for the record. Yeah, youth city council meets once a month, and they have an agenda similar to you all, and then they have a budget where they can plan events for youth. And some of their objectives are just to provide more clean and safe events for residents of that age and get them involved into like what open meeting law is, Robert's Rules of Order, all of that stuff. So they can get exposure in case they want that experience. They kind of serve as an advisory to the Reno City Council as well. So yeah, could be a good first experience for people wanting to kind of dip their toes or experience local government.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, no more announcements. Are there any future agenda items? I know we talked a little bit about some of the RPD or gang unit things that we'll reach out to them about. Anything else that anyone wants to see on the future agenda?
Yeah, this is Marcela Gutierrez Rodriguez for the record. I would love the mobile outreach safety team to come talk to us about the issues that they are facing, but also the impact that they are creating in the community. That would be great.
This is Emmanuel Gutierrez for the record. If we can, I'm trying to do an event, or I'm thinking of like a Valentine's Day card that we can make a bunch of Valentine's Day cards. It doesn't have to be us, it could be also to like students from Pine or senior citizens in nursing homes. So I think again, that's just a small idea. I don't know where to go with it, but I guess this would be a great place to throw it out there with you all, if anybody wants to help me with that.
Okay. Yeah, so maybe that would be more of an announcement thing. So maybe we can do an email follow-up to that, right?
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, if you send an email, I can help coordinate with volunteers and getting into the nursing homes.
Okay, any other agenda items? Jennifer, anything from your end? Okay, we do have one more public comment period, so we'll leave it open for 1 second. I know we still have one attendee on the Zoom. If anyone wants to make any. Okay, if anyone wants to make a public comment here, same as before, limited to 3 minutes and any item or general public comment. And you can raise your hand in the Zoom if you'd like to.
Mr. Chair, to know for the record, you have no public comment lodged in person. And as you noted, we are opening the final public comment period for our online attendees. If they'd like to submit public comment, please raise your hand. And seeing none, Mr. Chair, we have no public comment.
Right, well, yeah, I'd like to thank Councilmember Martinez for hosting us here. Yeah, we'll look to seeing if there's going to be some other fun locations we can travel to together. But for now, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Sure, this is Ryan Smith for the record. I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second,
This is Marcelo Gutierrez Rodriguez. I second that motion.
okay, all in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned. And have some more pitches.
Yeah.